education that would actually make sure that the country becomes economically viable. And we there was a clarion call for the country to make sure we nationalize the mine, we nationalize the banks, we understand all those things that the economy would actually be basically make sure that young people get free education and all those things. So it was our role to make sure that we push that agenda. And I still believe that there is an agenda for us as a generation to make sure that there is economic freedom in our lifetime. Because our Mandela and Sisulus and Oliver Regional Tambo made sure in their lifetime they got political freedom. Until now we have that current call to make sure that there is there is economic freedom, and that's why we even moved into the ANC. It was us in the youth league that we swelled the ranks of the ANC. We swelled the ranks of the ANC whilst we were still young people, and made sure that we played a role within the ANC. So it wasn't the ANC would have now embraced.
Warning ourselves. If you are saying that you are a member of the ANC, the important person is that person who's not a member. But we are hearing voices or people saying that we are looking inward, we are speaking to ourselves. So when we now looking at the Johannesburg dialogue in the context of the ANC in politics, our structure as Johannesburg, from the top 5 to the additionals, do you feel like there is a gap? We are not finding ourselves. Are we maybe in a spot where, because we are now having the governance, we are seeing how difficult it is, maybe, but we are not going back to our people and telling them, hey, that's bigger than the ANC. And because we are not giving back that information to the community, every small problem, it is now linked to the ANC. And when you look at the collective of the ANC, dissolved as they may be, when you look at 2022 resolutions and where we are today, were they implemented? And if there were stumbling blocks, were they expressed to us as branch members? Because we need to know if SIA, now there's a call for you to be the next. Are you understanding the diagnosis of 2022? And how far are we with those issues that were raised? So
all the South Africans would expect you to each individual's concerns about service delivery. So this is where we are now. Look, I mean, we've got a beautiful resolution of the ANC, but the question is the implementation. Are we taking the right direction to implement? But also within us, I think it's a question of unity. And we need to make sure that it becomes at the center of our operating organization. It must never be about SIA. SIA as an individual. When I stand up and say, when branches say SIA, stand and lead, that is not me who wants to lead. It's branches that they believe that SIA must take on and lead. But leading the organization that has got its own a framework of work, that has got its own resolutions, what must be implemented. My role is obviously to make sure that those resolutions are put into practice and to address some of the concerns of people on the ground. Fortunate enough, I'm coming from the ranks of the ANC, from the preparatory school. I know what is my contribution towards that. Part of the diagnosis report that was done after we lost elections in 2016 was that we've lost touch with our people on the ground. We are not delivering services. There is corruption that is preoccupying our organization. Obviously, there is disunity that makes us not to function in a properly coordinated way. So the leadership that needs to come into place, firstly, you need to reflect on those aspects. What is my contribution? I'm here to build to destroy. Am I here basically to enrich myself and lead the organization? This is organization of people. to us to assist people. So I'm saying a number of issues. Firstly, is that there's an unemployment. What is it that we're doing as an organization, the city of Johannesburg, to change that outlook? Secondly, is the question of, I think, the electricity that the national government is addressing. Thirdly, I'm not going to count all of them. It's that those are it's a question of the housing. So now I'm saying that we also neglected most important sectors or areas of Johannesburg, particularly the middle class. That's where we're dropping in terms of number of votes. What is it that is our approach as the ANC to address these things? But I can tell you, I mean, people out there, they decided to sit down and to vote because they don't have an alternative up until the ANC sort itself internally. So I think the leadership that must come. It is my idea that if I come to play to lead the ANC at whatever level, that should be at the center of my agenda. To unite the ANC, to make sure that we implement our resolutions, we improve on service delivery. City of Johannesburg has never been like this before. So I think we need to go back to basics and find out where we went wrong. How do we then address those things? Lastly, we always say a community that is not informed is likely to be misdirected. We have got our councillors. Is that misalignment? Most of our councillors, they think that they are gods. I mean, you are deployed by the ANC to represent the ANC. At no stage that you will run your parallel programs outside the structure that is deployed to. So I'm saying those are the things that we need to address and go back to our people, inform them about what is the plan of the city. When these plans are delaying, we must be able to tell them that we are delaying it. The challenge is there. In the council, we don't necessarily do things as we want to. There are processes that need to be followed. Make sure that the community is aware of those things. And a community that is informed is a community that will obviously be working with you.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Fabi to respond. And the good thing is that he will then respond in the context of being a councillor, because he is a councillor. Because when you speak about that lack of communication, then you'd find there's a BEC that's not assisting the councillor when there's a social ill. You'd find the councillor doing a program, the BEC is not there. So, but you are then part of the ANC. So that's why I was asking that the disjuncture between us, leadership, choose leadership. Then what should then be done different to make it work?
That's a good question that you want me to respond to.
I think you're wearing that councillor hat. Yes, he has not a councillor.
And
What is theory?
by the way, I
This
want
is
the
practice.
councillors in my zone. My zone, you know, it's purely dominated by DA.
Yeah,
We
yes.
always have this idea, how do we create shadow councillors who give us information on the issues like the strategy that is done by the other opposite parties.
Yeah.
Basically, it's responding to what would have been happening in August and branches in August in the region as well.
Yes.
Where you find between now, like you were saying, that the ANC itself is mostly inward looking, and in some instances, it's true that some councillors would not be able to hold meetings as much as people would want.
Yeah.
And also, what you must also understand is that the councillors have got challenges of actually making sure that they unite the ANC and they are actually operate and bring unity between the councillor and the ANC.
Yes.
And though the cadres of the ANC should actually be the ones who protect the government, because they have deployed the councillor and make sure that their policies are actually put in place. In some areas, you'll find the ANC has never had meetings. If we go branch by branch, I would be actually surprised to find a branch that has said the ANC has come and had a meeting on water, electricity, or an issue, it's usually the councillor that does that. And I think it's about time that the ANC takes ownership, even in development. The ANC is the one that actually brings the development to the people. And the councillor is their deployee. They should be the first ones on the ball to say, this is our development, because it comes from the city that is totally run by the ANC. At the helm, the mayor being Comrade Dialog. So it's upon themselves to say, the ANC has brought you water, the ANC has brought you electricity, the ANC has made sure that you have a road network, the ANC is wanting to make sure that you have a better economy. The ANC wants you to have, ESP, that extended social package. So it is the ANC that should actually also be able to go to the people and actually explain those things, bring those departments in with the help of the councillor. Because what we have seen is that the ANC is being blamed of doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because I, as the councillor, I'll be called by the people, and the people don't look at me as particularly the ANC. I might be the face of the ANC, but they have not seen the cadres of the ANC rallying behind me. You understand? Once you don't have that, then there's a disjuncture where the ANC cannot take the pride or cannot even explain. You understand? We might explain what we're explaining as councillors, but we're looked at as part of the system. You understand? So I also feel the party does not communicate enough. We don't have systems of communicating to the people as much as we would want the people to actually do. So that's where I would say we need stronger branches. There was a time former President TM said we needed branches that are not too big, but branches that are concentrated, but people that have the capacity to actually make sure that they give a certain skill to the people. You understand? Or people that actually make sure that they make the branch a better place. Because if we had economists or people that are in the banking sector within your branch, and you would call them in to become members of the ANC, and they would actually assist people to understand more of the economy. If you have people who basically know agriculture, and he comes in and becomes a member of that branch, but those people are brought into sectors or play into sectors or what you call committees within the ANC, and actually impart that knowledge to the community. That would actually make us improve. People in the health sector, nurses, must be members of the ANC, so that our clinics are in a better state. These people understand the health sector better. So the demographic of our branches are not showing that. So we are not even including. He also said that we have actually ostracized the middle class, you understand, or the so-called middle class. And those are some of the important people that make sure that the policies of the ANC must be implemented. You understand? So it means once we build those kind of branches, because I'm seeing with the foundation courses and everything like that, that shows that we are trying to go into the right direction. You understand? To make sure that people understand what the ANC is about. So I'm hoping that as we go forward, we'll look in and zoom in into actually the implementation part. How do we implement? Who's supposed to implement? Do we have the capacity to implement? Are we recruiting people that have the capacity to implement? The burden does not only sit on the mayor, the councillors, the MMC, but the branch of the ANC would have done. Do you even understand when the services are brought to the ANC? They think they will just say, the reasons are the government and it. But when something goes wrong, it's easy to say, in the ANC. So that the ANC must make sure that we build better branches so that there is. And the councillors must do their part and make sure that branches and community have the community that they need to have, and he explains the program of action of the city.
How we are looking at the process, right? So the process that the ANC branches must speak when it comes to electing our future leaders. So you'd find that the process even of contestation, you'd find someone who's passionate about the ANC. They've been but Gugu has never been in a position, right? But Gugu is always there. Door to door, Gugu is there. When the councillor, Gugu is there to support the council. Anything that involves a POA, Gugu is there. But when we choose leadership, because Gugu is humble enough to say, I won't, no, it's fine. The way contestation is done, we are saying we want to do away with patronage. Okay, let's do away with patronage. But someone who's contesting has a job. Sia has a job. Sia can give me now 5,000. Papi cannot give me that amount. But capacity is there. I mean, equal contestations in terms of the playing fields. Are we still having patronage? In fact, that question is very much rhetorical. We are finding branches that are very questionable for Nina. You cutting us a door, I need leadership. How does you painting a mean that you have capacity to hold out Johannesburg? How does you cutting grass mean that you understand race for Johannesburg? So when you look at the activities that are happening now, we have social media, you see what is being done. Is it an effective way? And is it really productive in building strong branches, comrades? Pair 2 is one of the best ways because you conscientize me. So that when you come with money, I'm not going to entertain you. By virtue of you bringing money, it means you already know you don't have capacity. Being exploited till today. Because if you, in your experience, since you are non-RECs, has it been difficult for you to find expression in other wards? It could be maybe the constitution I shy. You know, comrades, but 2xn, why is it difficult for someone who has said, I solemnly declare, to come to a BGM? Why must it sit after 6 hours if we are saying those people really want the ANC to win? So those are the dynamics that I want to ask on you. How has the journey been in contestation?
You know, I think the problem that we've just tapped in now is that one of what everybody wants to lead.
Yeah.
That's where we would find it this challenge. Before the ANC, it was just a process of identifying leaders. I mean, it has never been about a contestation. It's just to say who's now capable to take us to the next level at a time. But now things have changed. Say who must then do what so that I get support. Available in other structures. But how I foresee it could go is that leadership, it's not that Sia can do 1, 2, 3. It covers a lot of aspects. Leadership is a process where you are part of a collective that is seeks to be directed to a particular direction.
Yeah.
You work within that confine. And you must obviously have those qualities of bringing these people together. So now most people, most of us as comrades were lacking that. And I think things that we've seen, I mean, I'm not going to mention the various levels. People operate in silos. They personalize things. They even forget about the bigger picture of the organization. If I sabotage you with deployment, you want to now become enemies. The idea of the ANC is no longer there. Serving people. You becoming RD or whatsoever, CEO, has got nothing to do with the ANC. If you are ready to occupy that position, I mean, the situation will prevail at some time, but you're not coming to tell us this is what I want to do. So I'm saying these are the things that you need to look at. Yes, there are comrades in the branch level who are there every now and then. In the team, I know the programs are there. But that cannot translate to leadership. Yeah. So let us be clear about that one. We encourage all performance functions. One, if there is a full eating, because you cannot expect comrades to work the whole day not to eat. As an organization, we need leaders who can rise above those issues to assist the organization. Mostly, I think most of our leaders, they don't care what will happen tomorrow in the ANC. If they want to lead, They want to live at that space. They don't know what's happening next. We are young leaders who would want to get the ANC. It's still relevant to our people.
Yeah.
But most of our leaders currently now, they seem to care less what will happen. As long as I leave, and when I leave, I don't care what will happen. I don't care. So we've just deserted the entire idea of building a strong ANC that will lead forever. The same idea. And to fight against all the ills that were. So I'm saying, as branches, we need to look at that. And also, another aspect is that people not come to ANC because they don't see any of those programs. It doesn't speak to they have to do with ANC. We don't utilize members of the ANC. People say, we've got different states. The ANC that I grew up in, it will create committees. A branch that is in good state will create committees based on the analysis of your ward and the sectors that are there. That say, see, we know you work at Home Affairs. No?
Yeah.
Issues that relate to Home Affairs will put it to you. You know, this one was the housing. You had that particular committee. There are sectors that people are good in education, which is the space that we also need. Because remember, the responsibility of you must make sure to give support those branches, capacitate them in terms of what you should do as a branch of the ANC, and then evaluate you. Need to be evaluated towards the after 2 years. We should come up with a start to say maybe quarterly, let's have one, but let us put a strong mechanism to monitor and evaluate.
Comrade Papi, before you answer, you touched on something which already answers this question. When you were referring to, I think, Oatam or Titi, when he spoke about quality, and I'm also from that school of thought, that if we have to look at the constitution and we are still insisting with the decline of voter, and we're still insisting on 100 plus, especially in Johannesburg, we need to ask ourselves within the 100 for a branch to sit at 2 a.m. It should tell you that we are running to meet the quorum, running to meet the thresholds, rather than sitting and making those decisions. So when you're answering in terms of are we having an equal playing field, also this thing of if Siya's contesting and Zone 5 is not supporting him by virtue, we're going to disqualify him. I also don't like or be retired, to be specific. 1 minute, Siya, what I also go
back into what you said about an individual who's always there.
Yes.
A person who makes sure, you know, with the ANC, is that we want to go that of the day they must because I think the ANC is a machinery. It's built as a machinery where everybody has got a role to play. And with that role to play, there must be also an understanding of how leaders actually are supposed to be groomed, basically nurtured. Because in any organization that is actually wants to actually grow and wants to make sure that it reaches to the NDS in this case, is to make sure that leaders are thoroughly, thoroughly understand the mission and the vision of that organization. So the ANC would know that they have, we have numerous leaders, and me and Sia are not necessarily the best. You understand? but I'll say that is that the pool actually is diverse. I understand. Sia might understand education. I understand. The leadership, that there are people actually, some of them are just there they're not in your face kind of leaders, but they do have the capacity to lead. But going back to that is that those leaders that are there should actually be nurtured by the organization, identified and nurtured, like Abo Sisulu would identify and nurture AMA leaders from a very young age. And that those leaders take a path that they understand that what kind of ANC that we're going to build.
Yeah.
Because the tactic at a point in time might change, but the strategy is the same. You understand? So you must be actually taken through the tactics that we're using at that particular stage. Because you might think, the government or you might think the ANC of the day is making a mess or a hash of anything, but you haven't been taken through the tactic that is happening at that point in time, or you don't even understand the tactic, because there are different tactics. Tactic of the day, because of the balance of forces that are on the ground. To understand those tactics that we're going to use, or nobody has set you down to say, look here, Chad, now we're at this stage of the revolution. You understand? Now the tactic that we're using, because now look at us, we're in GNU, you understand? GLU, you understand? All those things. And I'm sure the tactics have changed.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah.
So when you look at it and you look at your branch member or the volunteer, who's very important, make no mistakes. Like you were saying, the resources that we take in are resources that should be used to make sure that volunteer is assisted, to make sure that he does the work, the day-to-day work, or making sure he reports the sewer. He goes to the house where there is a sewer leakage and says, hey, let's report to the councillor, let's report to Joburg, let's report to the ANC, let's report to the committee. Capacitate them so that start from there. People who work in Joburg water. As somebody, when I come after my 2 years, then I give you that 10,000. They say, we are voted, but after that, I disappear from your face. But what it does, it leaves a bad taste in our mouth. You understand? Oh, bias user now. What's a boy? You understand? And then that's where our problems are, because once I sit down and I don't do the work that I used to do, the daily work that when I see a house burning, my emergency service, now I'm disgruntled because of that. So it's important for leaders to actually, dissect and disseminate information properly, and also make sure that we actually group the machinery properly so that the machinery works for the ANC. Because the ANC always says machinery towards an election, but the machinery should be there every day. You understand? It should be well oiled, and it should be a machinery that goes to workshops. When we understand what you're good at, you understand when capacity, and we should also capacitate you to make sure that basically make sure as the organization that we do give them the educational know-how to make sure that we diverse is also so we must be sure that we all this machinery and we nurture the leaders that are there, and even the leaders who become REC members and everything else, they should be actually periodically nurtured by the organization. Not, you understand, because the organization itself has got a vision and mission. So that vision and mission we must understand at every point in time.
Right, now it's 10:45 and you are watching the episode 3 of the Johannesburg Dialogue. I am with Zone 5, Sia, and Comedy Papi from Zone 9. I never even mentioned that I share the same zone with you, and it's deliberate. It's so deliberate because, But here's the thing now. There's the process of commissions. Like there's discussion documents. I'm not hearing those conversations. But as yourself, Comexia, we always say that you must always place your talents to the disposal of the ANC in pushing the NDR. So if you were to say right now, what is that passion? Because if you look at the REC, they're all under committees or portfolios. And they have to work together with branches, zones in those committees. Examining your what and seeing, well, okay, we have a cross documents, speak to social ills or where the ANC wants to advance. What is Sia passionate about?
No, basically,
Okay.
and obviously, that's the question of poverty. We people
Okay.
so that they were mechanics, but internships that are provided by various institutions, we channel them through that because we start there. We also have got a problem of the influx of our brothers from our neighboring countries who have got these skills that are demanded by our economy. And I think we also need to change the mindset in our society to say, not all of us are going to be strategists, going to be CEOs, we're going to be academics. There is a skill that is demanded by your economy. Simple styling, painting, and all those things. These are the skills that are there. Most people, our people are neglecting. Hence, we've got this influx. These projects that happen across the city, construction, where you get more of our brothers from another country because of the skills that they possess. If we can basically address those things at the city as one of the most important issues to address unemployment that we get from when we do door to door. People say, no, I've got no reason to vote for you. So I'm sitting doing nothing, I'm unemployed. Unfortunately, our people expect that government is going to employ all of them. But that is not the case. We need to channel them directly. The private sector has to come on board. Which, I mean, of comrades going to that we used to see when we're growing the AIDS, and the thing that we need to really conscientize our delegates that are going to conference to say this is what we're going to do. Start at the branch level, you make your own submission. You assess the state of your branch and the state of government in your branch. This is your submission to the regional conference, and you should lobby with others on this. Remember, when you go to a conference, it's not only about yourself, your branch, your zone. But you should relate to other branches to have a common understanding that will find expression. But also encourage our delegates. You're sent there, you should be part of discussions of the entire commission proceedings. Make submission, make sure that in the plenary, those submissions are made and accepted as a program of action of the ANC in the city of Transvaal. And then the question of implementing them, that's when they will come to play. But another issue that I wanted, when I was saying, but I'm not sure about that, just passing a joke. It's true what it's saying. It's true what it's saying. You see, look, who are leaders? There is a variety of leadership in the ANC, which is equal to the task that will persist at the time. I mean, in every, I think through the eye of the middle class, that there is certain leadership for particular task to achieve. So we possess different skills. I mean, when I'm not elected in this conference, you must not then say no. But there are most of conference who think that if I'm not elected, it's like a humble. But you can check this for example, there's nothing responsibility to task. Our time of leading, I mean, comes in different forms. When they go to a conference, there's 12 hours. Make sure that we reflect, because sometimes if we sit as the ANC discuss commissions, that do not speak in our constituents, then well, they were wasting our time. Our discussion should be informed by what the constituents were saving on the ground wants. And so that it speaks to the services that will deliver the city to our communities. And those things should speak to themselves. We shouldn't be seeing ourselves campaigning door to door, going back after certain years to us considering the same question. That was the same question you asked me. I answered it
Exactly.
20 years ago.
Yes.
But we've done nothing. We must be able to go to them and say we've done 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. This is the next level that we're taking in as this leadership. So we expect you to continue trusting on us to lead you. Because we cannot do everything at once. There are stages, there are budget constraints. The treasury, obviously, we've got a serious crisis of budget shortage. So we need to reprioritize and look at this.
Mainly covered. I'll try to also add. Let me not put you on the spot and say yes or no. But the just comes there with his paint. But if we had a POA, when Sia says, comrades, I want to visit your branch, I'll look at but I'll just extend it also to branches, how we are in a vacuum between our own BGMs. We can't say the region sits between conferences. Even with us as branches, when we are done electing and choosing delegation, we'll come back again for the NGC delegation, but there is no POA in the branch.
I think I was actually thinking to say, in our branches, delegation is not chosen because of capacity. So it's because of I understand.
Yeah.
So no, the strike man who hamba no part or on sea must go there and part, or see.
Yeah. I could. Yeah, it's something I change. Can't just say anyone.
I also want to. I understand that every when abantwana abatholi imali yesasa isikolo lesiya atholi food ukudla lokho feeding scheme government. So you understand now where we are. It's the branch that maybe does not even understand why are we going to conference.
Absolutely.
I understand. So until we actually understand why we go to conferences, because the conference is about policy, it's about the constitution, it's about, you understand? How do we make sure that other branches also deposit or take in the policy? You understand? That you must eradicate that. The ANC must eradicate the it should be easy to put together a program of action that is basically concentrated area or you must do. So then when on a bigger scale you already depositing something that also affect on the other side a community ukuthi manje conference manje ohlangana lapha nikhulume nithengiselana ukuthi hayi yabona la sinenkinga yalama feelings baletha ukudla okubolile etholweni. You understand? So what better way can we actually assist and make sure that maybe it goes to province and all that, you understand? So that policy, the feeding scheme must maybe done at a municipal level where we can actually do proper oversight. Who's doing oversight to the feeding scheme? You understand? Do we have the full capacity at the regional level to do that oversight? And what are the measures that we take after doing the oversight? You understand? So now, if we don't have those sittings and talking about it, before we used to actually have caucuses where we would sit and talk about issues that affect the community as comrades. You understand? You want to learn a battle of ideas coming through and you understand, talking about our issues. You understand? But now, there's money when you talk about this. So you find with now when we call caucuses,
Yeah.
but it's us who basically, as members of the branches, and make sure that when we go to conferences, yeah. But I must make a report about what would happen. Basically, why I was saying we are not the best leaders. If we put in a leader and put in the right, and we give it to be implemented, and it will obviously make sure that the life of the ANC becomes better.
Okay, so we are 11 o'clock on the dot. We are nearing the end of the interview. I have two questions. The first one is just to wrap up the journey that leads us to the conference. The issue or the word that we are always taught in our petu, they say that the plague in the organization, we've given it a name which has been made dead. It was a very simple name, but we have changed its meaning, factions. If we believe that we must prioritize the issue of immigration, and I believe that Comrade Barbie, in my view, is the one who's supposed to lead. Comrade Queen says, I agree, Barbie is good at that, but the issue right now is inequality. So I feel that because he's very strong at that, let's make him, for example, a chairman. Now we are sitting with Queen with two candidates for that position. They're not fighting each other, it's the position. I have this preference. Ihlali conference, Sia makes it. Then we find Hukuku is now fighting with Queen. And now we are finding ourselves with these slates. And even those people, Babang, they don't even know why they are there. If you go to the cracks of uncommonly wanting to be part of our confidence, Sia will definitely that Sia is coming to Johannesburg.
If we are not united, and there's nothing that we can do as an organization. Also, I think it's important to understand that as an organization, there should be a period where we would transit from this caliber of leadership to the next caliber of leadership. People must not hold to positions, because this is
Okay.
Sound. How do we kill these factions? You know, factions are rooted badly on money. Who deploys who and who gives you how much? If we can root that one out, I think we'll be taking the right direction. But Kuku, I think what is important for us now in Johannesburg is to make sure that we understand the aspect of collective leadership. Collective leadership, let us not look at it in Johannesburg. It's that way from the branch level zone, the region, and the province. If we locate the mission on all those aspects, we don't have to live in the same structure. But let's agree on our mission where we're going. Say, no, remain there in the zone is fine. We have got the same idea. At the regional level, the same idea, provincial level. If we can understand that aspect. Not everybody wants to lead. And it's unfortunate, but people have got different interests in terms of achieving the mission of the ANC. One are interested in business, which will then create employment for the others. Politically set direction. If we can obviously come together and understand that aspect, I think we take a direction. And Johannesburg is the biggest region in Gauteng. Factional politics, the HR, this one hate this one. It's difficult. I mean, it's a difficult aspect, but we need to foresee a day where we would be ending with factions, going back to where the ANC was. When we see that Kuku is a problem, we're not saying Kuku, we don't want to. Let's then say, Kuku, can we now put you aside? Can we put Papu to come and lead in order to save the soul of the ANC. Because this thing of fighting each other, it also led us to create separate political organizations that were coming from the ANC, which was the only root cause of the hatred amongst ourselves and a greediness from comrades. So those are aspects that, but I am in to obviously unite Johannesburg. I would foresee a Joburg. To be honest, let me tell you, when we went to the last conference, we nearly foresaw a serious change or a unity of purpose. But throughout the process, those who are entrusted with leadership, they tend to personalize things. We would have said at least this was a step forward to greater success as Johannesburg. And when I engage, comrades we've sent to lead to unite Johannesburg, but we decided to take personal issues. We are not part of that. No matter, you can come to me and tell me about what is wrong, have wronged you. That has got nothing to do with me. I want something that has to do with the ANC. You see, so I'm saying the factions are a problem, and we need to strive and to destroy and kill them bit by bit.
Party?
I think after conferences, we must demobilize. Jane, enjoy it. I understand. And that also capacity, they do it according to conference, or we're given a go ahead to say this is what outcome of the conference that you're looking at. I understand. So a problem where we don't take in political education as a tool to show that the members of the AIDS actually understand why we're in context and how leadership is actually that our political differences are not just to make us hate each other. Our political differences actually perpetuate a situation where we grow, because now our differences, we're not machines. Our differences are actually good because we're thinking from different angles and we're seeing things differently. But it must not bring hatred towards Ugogo or Usi and An. It should actually make sure that it brings us together to understand Usi. You understand? Because in the ANC, we are more likely to want to understand opposition than we want to understand our peers. You understand? Our comrades. So it means there's something wrong with us. And I do believe that factions should not be forever there. But there is a time where actually there should be a machinery that people put in place to make sure that they actually get the outcome that they want from conference. But at the end of the day, when we are there now, when we are leading, then there must be demobilization and make sure that we are a collective. We work as a collective. Now, the personal interest must be set aside to make sure that the organization's interests now go forward. And you understand the hierarchy within that organization. You understand what is your role within the organization, or as a leader. Because that's also important, because in leadership, in a collective, you must know what role that you're playing. Because I cannot overstep somebody's role. That's where the problems sometimes come to, because now I'm no longer a team player. I want to be the superstar. And that's when now we are seven. And we must ask why Kuka seven.
Yes.
I understand. Because the collective really seven. Not factions as was we imagine. We're no longer worried about it. That we were in actually
at the end, and like inequality, we have a problem with our intelligence. I get with how and what happens in Zone 5 while it's happening. Protecting ourselves, we are not even protecting our own leaders. When we get to the public, when they say, "Hi, let cancel again," immediately I must say, "Mama, not to say, "Hi, not the shame, city, already have us." That's what the SG was alluding to. So in light of all the social ills and some of our political stance or the structure of the ANC that we still need to fix, what is the ANC that you envision And I always say to people, always speak highly about yourself and speak positive. As an REC member of the ANC Johannesburg, what is the Johannesburg that you envision?
It is the responsibility of the ANC. In fact, this is our task that are ahead of us to elevate poverty, inequality, unemployment, and then root out corruption, which is the demon that has indicated for purpose and that understand in order to work to how the Gauteng should look like. But also to say we need to make sure that the question of in Gauteng particularly to incapacity of the city. It's all about opportunities out there in other provinces. There's a food system out of that agriculture. It speaks volumes. You speak of transportation, you speak of the actual machinery and the ownership of the farms around there. That can also speak to addressing the question of influence. Facilitated the government. Make sure that it speaks to addressing the ills of the city, which is that of inequality and employment. So that we don't foresee the city, the industry around the city employing more people outside the city and the province. So those are the things that I think that must be facilitated going forward. But lastly, the question of corruption is a zero tolerance in the ANC. We deploy individuals to represent the ANC. This might be seen as if it's the ANC that is corrupt. The most unfortunate part is that it's individuals that are corrupt who tend to do things that the ANC did not send them or declare them to do. Let's root that one. Let us just have no mercy. It doesn't matter if a comrade that is close by to me or whoever. But when there is a corruption that has been detected, but also let us not use it as political scoring in order to disadvantage one from leading. Because sometimes this thing application is not fair. We might call for a step aside, but this step aside is for an eye. It sees when it's puppy, when it's here, it does not see. So those are the things that we really need to look at. I think and I do believe that if we can address those a few aspects, we'll be heading on to the right direction.
Okay. For parting words?
Thank you. I think the leadership collective of the REC should actually be a collective that will actually take us forward. Because it wants each of it to actually become one of the most valued or high valued cities in the world, because it was at one point in time. We have actually moved to become the financial capital. Even when we're talking about Zambia. And we'll make sure that the goal becomes more very simple. It becomes a regional market. Then make sure that those artisan miners are able to value chain, so that when we take it out, give the skills that are basics, plumbing. If you understand, plumbing is actually one of the numbers are actually. We don't have enough plumbers that actually from our communities. So it should be upon our cities and those people who give soft skills to train our people, to become plumbers, bricklayers, tile makers. You understand? So that those who cannot be on these maybe who cannot beneficiate in other things or become in the financial sector are able to live off their hands, because there are lots of young people who can actually live off their hands. And even the financial sector, we must actually make sure that we transform the financial sector, because it's untransformed. It's upon us Because Joburg, if not the third biggest economy, it's the fourth.
Yeah.
You understand, in Africa.
Mm.
And we know the financial sector is a major player. And how do we transform the financial sector? It's upon the leadership that is there to make sure that the financial sector is transformed. People are supposed to get loans better, especially housing.
Yeah.
Housing loans must be easier to access for young black women and men. I understand. Business loans. Why is it easy for me to buy a car than to get money for a business? Those are questions that we should be asking. Why is it? Because we give a lot of money to understand. Even as the ANC, we FNB membership here to see FNB. I understand. Why shouldn't we say to FNB, how can you work with our people to actually make sure the housing loan and business are things that are easily black person? It's very difficult. I understand. It's a very difficult exercise. So those are some of the things that we should actually be looking at and saying, for our economy to grow, young black people, young black women should be given business loans very easily. You understand? How? Because firstly, we don't even have collateral. How do we make sure us as the government give collateral for businesses? If need be, we come halfway and say, okay, this person doesn't have collateral. Let's also chip in for collateral. Let the bank also chip in for collateral. I understand. So that when you create your business, we're able to monitor and watch it grow. Because one thing I've heard is that we never monitor our businesses. We must start monitoring our business from a municipal place. Yeah. And we should deliberately make sure that those people are able to do the business and able to do who has the capacity and who do that. I understand. We're using who are elected to make sure that can contribute into the economy. If we do that, we are sent to build.
All right. Thank you so much. Remember the show is going to be live for 60 days, correct, Queen? And then is to allow all 135 branches to listen to the candidates. And we are not going to basically not allow, but we're not going to be having all candidates to come to the show. We try to look at geographics to say where are people situated so that we can represent the zone. Number two, we also look at the different walks. I am against us saying that people, if they've never been REC, they must not contest. If you've never been a BEC, you must not contest. The Constitution allows, so you should always allow comrades from different walks of life to come to the show. So we have another group of people who will be coming in. The women have been invited, and at least we now have some women who have confirmed to come to the show. So we are asking you to please show that the ANC is non-sexist. We have sent out communications to every candidate that is available. And if you don't see them coming here, high chances are they are busy. I put up comrades, they are fine. It's just that they are busy. We are still celebrating 70 years of the Freedom Charter. It's going to happen in Cape Town very soon. We had to delay because of the death of the former deputy president, was laid to rest, of course, yesterday. And we'll be with you guys on Friday. I hope that we don't have any challenges with electricity because we're busy. That's why we've been delaying, we're busy. But nonetheless, we'll see you guys on Friday, God willing. Have a wonderful Monday and a great productive week. Ngizibanga fushane.